Hi, it's a Lipstick Gal. Thank you so much for watching today. I wanted to do another declutter. Today I'm looking at my bronzers. Okay, I have a few more and I may have to start there, but is this where I tell you that I didn't really start wearing bronzer like seriously until about 5 or 6 years ago? Maybe 6 or 7 years ago. For the longest time, I remember bronzer being the equivalent of turning into an orange person. I remember seeing people wearing bronzers that were way too orange, and they usually came in one shade. And this was one of those things where I, as a fair-skinned person, did not want to look like an orange. So I stayed away from bronzer probably until my mid to late 30s. Let's say late 30s, because I'm 46 now, so maybe it's been almost a decade that I've been wearing bronzer, but the longest time I just never would get into it. You wouldn't catch me in bronzer because the one time I tried it, I looked like an Oompa Loompa. And that was not what I was going for. So thank you for watching today. Thank you for being subscribed. I'm going to start with the guys that I have that are not in this little pile that I showed you. This is one that I've had for a long time. This is the Bronze Goddess from Estee Lauder. This is interesting because this shade here is the shade number 2. Shade number 1 was really, really fair. And I got talked into shade number 2 when I bought it. And I think what's interesting is if I use it with a brush, it actually looks really pretty. It has a slight red tone to it. It diffuses gorgeously and it's not too much. And it's a beautiful bronze, even though it's not the fairest shade, which is usually what I go for. I think I'm gonna hang on to this. One that I think it's time to let go of is this one right here. This is the Marc Jacobs Tantastic Bronze in the coconut. Mine still has the slightest scent of coconut to it. It's a really pretty bronzer. I feel like it's nice. I don't know. Here it is. I've had it for a long time. I just don't reach for it anymore. And I know that between these two, I've had these about the same amount of time. I tend to reach for this one over this one. So I'm gonna let this one go. Oh, it's hard though. This was $49. And I love the packaging. I love like how thin it is, how huge the mirror is. And this is when I wonder, you know, no, I'm not gonna keep anything because the package, it wasn't because of the packaging. I was thinking, can I get rid of the bronzer in there and put other things in there and use it as a traveling compact mirror? I don't know. We'll see. Probably just gonna let it go. The last thing I have here is this. It's a palette from Salt New York. It has one shade in there. It's more of a contour shade than a bronze, but I just picked this whole set up. I really love these Cream Pro. Are they Cream Tint Pro? I think that's what they're called. And this lightest shade here is their Sculpt and Define. This is just their Sculpt and Bronze in the shade Contour. That's what this is. I'll tell you, on days that I need to look like myself quickly and in color, I use these guys here and I end up looking really pretty, really radiant, and not too made up, which is what I'm going for. So I'm gonna hang on to this one too. I got this in a BoxyCharm. This is from Ace Beauté. This is their Bronzed in Paradise palette. I think it's really pretty. The problem is there's only one shade that works for me. Everything else is too deep. I have used this as a blush, but I have to be so careful. I just haven't reached for it since I did the try-on video last late spring, early summer. It's been a year and I haven't touched that. I think I can let that one go. Another one that makes me so sad, and I have to let it go, I've hung on to it for too long, is this. I don't know if you ever remember when Fiona Styles had her own brand. It was sold at Ulta, and she had this kind of sculpting palette. This was the sheer sculpting palette in light medium. I love this. This was the first time I was able to use a shade to sculpt, but I'll tell you, and this bronze shade here, it's really pretty, but I feel like they're not anywhere near as pigmented as they used to be, especially this lightest shade here. So these are the swatches. I feel like the powders look a little powderier than they used to. I feel like the formula is not the same. Of course, it's older, it's aged. I've hung on to it because I really loved it, and I didn't use it while I was filming videos for YouTube because you can't get your hands on it, but it's past the point where it's still good and it breaks my heart, but I'm gonna have to let it go. So this is a bronzer from e.l.f. This is the Primer Infused bronzer. This is the shade Forever Sunkissed. I never really liked it. And for that reason, bye-bye. I have a bronzer from Colourpop. This is the shade Private Party. This is Private Party. I like that it has a little bit of shine to it. I just don't reach for it. So there's a good chance I'm going to push the pan out of this because these are reusable compacts, and I'm going to put a blush in here or something. The other thing that I do is I always pull off the name off the back of the pan so that I can put it on the back of the compact and I know what it is. So I'm going to let that one go as well. This one was kind of a little disappointment. This is from Tarte. It's a little mini of their fairly new bronzer that's a cream product. This is their Breezy Cream Bronzer in the shade Seychelles. It's the lightest shade they have. Looks like this. I feel like it's a little warm. It's a little orange leaning, especially when I blend it out. It's pretty, but I don't reach for it. I feel like I have to make it work more than I want to. The other thing that bothered me about this, I got this in a Sephora favorite set. The pan fell out. The glue holding it in was like, I'm done. Have a nice life. And so now it rattles. I think I can let that go. I'm so glad though, I'll tell you, I almost got this in the full size. I'm not gonna rattle it anymore. I almost got it in the full size because I wanted to try the product. I was really into, and still am, into cream products this spring, and I was buying everything I could get my hands on. I wanted to try a bunch of bronzers. And that one, out of the ones that I picked up this spring, was the most disappointing. I think it's mostly the shade match because the formula is actually really nice. It blends easily. It didn't look as flattering on my skin as I wanted it to. This is one that a friend sent to me. It came in their BoxyCharm and they just didn't think they were gonna use it. This is from Pretty Vulgar. This is their Bronze Bee bronzer in the shade Mannequin. Is that what it's called? It's Bronzed Mannequin. But it's a really pretty shade. You can see it has a slight, almost shimmer to it. And when you put it on the skin, it does have that really nice kind of almost skin-like glow to it, but I haven't reached for it in a while. I do think that it's a nice formula, easy to use. I like that about it, but I definitely need to pare this down. One that I have hung on to forever and ever and have not wanted to get rid of was this. I fell in love with this after I saw Kathleen Lights use it when it first debuted. This is from Too Faced. This is their Sweetheart Bronzer, and this is the shade Sweet Tea. So I would normally spend more time over here on this side, and I like that it is a kind of luminous bronze, but I'll tell you, this shade is too deep for me, and I feel like the texture has changed. I would keep using it, except for it feels more powdery. I don't feel like it lasts as long when I wear it. So I think it's time to let this one go. In my August favorites, I mentioned how I've been loving the Laura Geller Baked Balance and Brighten foundation, the powder foundation. This is the Baked Balance and Brighten bronzer in the shade Fair. Now, I know if you're looking at this, you're like, wait, all those darker shades? This is what it looks like right here. I feel like it is a nice product. It's just not one that I reach for, and I feel like there are other shades in my collection that suit me better than this. Is it a bad product? No. Do I reach for it? No. And for that reason, I think I'm gonna put it in the declutter pile. Doesn't everybody have one of these in their collection? I always get frustrated that I should just get rid of it. I've never used it, but it makes that rattling sound in here. But I'll tell you, this butter bronzer here still smells like the butter bronzer. It's a little bit less full force than it used to be, but this is one of those bronzers that I was really surprised. This is one of the first ones that I remember going, you know what? This is actually really pretty. This is what it looks like swatched right here. This is the lightest shade that they make. I feel like, although it still looks good when I use it, I feel like it doesn't have the same longevity that it used to have, which leads me to believe mine is getting old. Maybe not getting, maybe it's better to say is old. And if I want another one, I should just go get a fresh one. But I've had this for a long time. I feel like this is a staple in a lot of people's collection. It's a great product. I think I'm gonna put it in my declutter pile because I've hung on to it for too long, but I definitely feel like it's a really good product. I've had this for a long time, but I'm nearly done. I'm gonna hang on to this. This is my Benefit Hula Light. I hate the box, and if I was smart, I would like pop it out of the box and put it in a magnetic palette, but I know that if I do that, I'm gonna forget which palette it's in. I have so many, they're here, there, and everywhere, and it's easier for me to find it just by leaving it in this packaging, but I hate the box packaging with my whole heart. But the shade is really, really pretty. You're hardly gonna see it, but it's probably one of my most reached for bronzers here. I know you're like, wait, what? Is there a bronzer there? Yes, yes it is. The lights are up kind of high today. Maybe I should dial them down. Let's do that. Let me turn the lights down. Maybe you'll see it better. There you go. It's a little bit easier to see. It is basically just maybe 2 shades darker than my natural skin tone, which is why I love it. Because on a day when I want to look like a youthful version of myself with just a little glow, a little bronze, I love this. This is staying. I remember when this was all the rage, everybody was in love with this. This is the Take Home the Bronze bronzer. Mine looks a little like, does it have acne? No, I think it's just the way that it was milled. It's a really pretty color. This is a good shade for me, and I feel like it still works well. You can see that they're very similar. So this is the Take Home the Bronze. This is the Hula Light. I like these lighter toned bronzers for my fair skin. I'm gonna hang on to that one. This one makes me sad. This used to be my favorite bronzer that I would reach for in any situation. It's from Bareminerals. It was their Invisible Bronze in the shade Fair. Oh, such a good bronzer. You know what's weird though is I feel kind of like it's a little powderier than I remember it. It's right here. These all look like they're the same. I think the reason that I like this so much, I was gonna keep it until I felt it. I don't know that it feels the same. Maybe I'm gonna keep it. No, I'm not gonna keep it. That's sad. I was gonna say, I'm gonna keep it and use it on days when I'm not filming. I love that bronzer. That bronzer was one of the first few that convinced me that there could be appropriate shades of bronze for a fair-skinned person who wanted a little bit and not too much. I love that. I wish Bareminerals would come out with an updated version of this. If you know if they have a new bronzer since they discontinued their Invisible Bronze, would you let me know? I have been spending a lot less time in stores, and I'm one of those out of sight, out of mind. So unless it's a brand new release, I frequently do go back looking through what they already have in their collection, and I'm very infrequently in stores, so I have not had a chance to see whether Bareminerals has a different bronzer. If you know, let me know. So this one is hard. This is from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush Flawless Finish. I love the pan size, I love the packaging, and I love, my favorite thing about it is she's refillable. You can pop out the pan and you can you know, put whatever you want in here. You can get a different shade, you could get the highlight. I love that about this. I think that's fantastic. The problem I have is that this, even though it's the appropriate fairness for me, it's fair enough, it is a little yellow. And I feel like this might be better suited to somebody who has fair but warm skin tone, and I am fair neutral, and so it looks a little, it works, but some days if I don't wear the right, if I wear a cool blush with this, it doesn't work. Or if I wear a cool highlight, it doesn't work. And I like the option of, you know, being able to wear cool and warm tone things as well as neutral tone things. That's one of the best parts about having a neutral skin tone. But this is when I have to make sure I only wear with warm blushes, warm highlights, and it's gorgeous. This has been one of my long time bronzer loves. The instant I picked it up, it has been a favorite. This is the shade Into Sun. It's the lightest of the Sunstalker bronzers from Fenty. If you're curious about a swatch, it's right here. It's very, very, very beautiful. I feel like this and the Hula bronzer are the two that I reach for the most. I don't want to look too sculpted, too dark. This is one of my most used powder bronzers in the last year. That's not going anywhere. I feel like we're getting down to a lot more of the newer stuff. So a lot of the Deadwood, I think we've already talked about. This is a product I really like from Patrick Ta. This is a bronzing and contouring duo. So underneath this little plastic window here is the cream contour. So this is the cream contour and this is the bronzer. The bronzer does end up looking just a little bit warm, but that doesn't really bother me too much. I feel like it looks warmer in the pan than it does here, and I feel like it's not quite as yellow as the bronzer from Charlotte Tilbury. I actually really like this. I forget that I have it because I have so much stuff. So I'm gonna hang on to that one. This is a recent purchase for me, and I'm kicking myself for not having purchased it right when it came out. It's the Wayne Goss Radiance Boosting Face Palette. I have the shade Light Gold, and it is bronzer and contour. I like how big the pans are. My brushes fit in perfectly. These are the shades here. It looks kind of orange in the pan, but they absolutely blend to perfection. The bronzer especially tends to be one of those that has a little radiance, a little like glow. Can you see that? I can use it sometimes just as a blush alone. And over here is where you'll see the contour. It's not too much, it's not too deep. This I really packed it on. You don't need anywhere near that much, but I love it. I wore it the other day, the contour and the bronzer, no blush, no highlight. Beautiful, love. This first one here is the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand. I love this. And for the longest time, I felt like this and the product swatched next to it, the Contour Wand from Beauty Pie, were identical. Now, I will tell you, the packaging is the same. They're a mess. I hate them with my whole heart. Look at this one. This one is just like gooey and gross. And it's in its locked position, and it still looks like this. So I don't love these sponge-tipped applicators. But I'll tell you, there is a difference between the shades. The one from Beauty Pie tends to be a little bit more gray pink, and the one from Charlotte Tilbury tends to be a little bit more straight up brown. I'm gonna see if I can blend this direction over here so you can see. You don't even need anywhere near the amount I have on my hand. That's just because it all came gooping out, but it looks like this and is so pretty and it is so natural and is so beautiful. The one from Beauty Pie is also really pretty, but it is a slightly different. I don't have a good place to swatch these. Sorry, guys. This is the Beauty Pie one right here, blended out. This is what it looks like full force. And this is the one here from Charlotte Tilbury. I feel like for my skin tone, I like the look of the Charlotte Tilbury one a little bit better. It blends super fast with fingers, I love it best with like a sponge, like a damp beauty sponge. Boom, 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 like 5 little pounces and you're done. They both blend easily. I hate the packaging of these. I wish they would put them like in a doe foot. I wish they would put them in a dropper, like something different, because this is just a mess. Like, when are you gonna wanna spend $30 on a product and have it look like this? And I can clean it up and in like 3 uses, it'll look like this again. It's super frustrating. This next guy here is the Solar Paint from Glossier. It's what I'm actually wearing today. It's a little glowy, it's a little bit more warm in tone, but it's really light. Blends super easy. I like blending it with a damp sponge or with a synthetic kind of stiff brush like this where you just kind of plop it on there and then just keep going. I don't like actually buffing in circles. I like just tapping over until I get it where I want it. I feel like if I actually start swirling, it disturbs whatever I have on below. But I feel like it is such a pretty, warm, glowy. It's fantastic. This one here, oh, I don't like it. It doesn't last well. It's difficult to apply. It looks like this. It's actually the Trestique bronzer. This is the shade Brazilian Bronze. I feel like it's a pretty shade. I just don't like it. When I did a wear test with these, I didn't feel like it lasted even half a day, and I need a product that I can put on and I know at the end of the day it's still going to be there, and that doesn't give me that confidence. I've told you before, I have loved these So Soft products from M Cosmetics. Their new bronzer, this is the lightest shade here. This one is in the shade Summer. It blends out to a really soft, pretty color. I love it. I feel like it's really similar in color to the one from Trestique, but the one from M lasts all day. I'm gonna get rid of this one. I'm gonna keep this one. The last one I have down here is from Danessa Myricks. And what's interesting about this product It's a really easy to blend cream product. You need very, very little. I put way too much on here, but it blends out. It tends to be a little bit warmer. It kind of reminds me of the Glossier, but it's a little bit more opaque in color. Even though this is a cream product, I feel like it has almost more of a whipped consistency to it. It's very creamy in the pan, and it looks, you know, kind of thicker and creamy on the finger, so you don't need a lot. This is way too much. I could probably do like my face twice over with just this amount. So that's one that I use a little bit more sparingly, but it is really easy. Again, my favorite way to blend that is with a brush like this. I feel like it does better with that than it does with a damp sponge. And you want to put on a little bit, blend it in. If you need a little bit more, add a little bit more. I feel like it adds nicely on top of itself. So I'm going to keep this. Out of all of the cream bronzers, the only one I'm getting rid of is the one from Trestique. Overall, I'm getting rid of 12 bronzers, and I'm keeping 13. There is one more in this palette here, but I couldn't fit it in this little situation here. But I feel like cutting it down by almost half is a really good start. I think I could go through and do another, like, what are you using? What are you using? What do you not have time for in like another couple of months? But thinking about all the money I spent on purchasing products like this, it's hard and it hurts me. So this is where I remind you that nobody needs as much makeup as I have. You're never going to use it all before it goes bad. That's the thing, is like, this is a great bronzer, but it went bad. I feel like this is a great bronzer, but it went bad. Same thing here. And what happens to me is that I want to try something new, and I get so excited about the new thing, I don't finish what I have. I should do more project pan and less purchasing and reviewing. Let me know how you deal with products you have too much of. Do you do a declutter? Do you just put a moratorium on purchasing? Let me know in the comments down below. And I would also love to know your favorite bronzer that you use. If there's a formula or a shade you love, let me know down below. If you want to see the rest of my Declutter series, I will link it for you here, as well as the description box below. Thank you for watching. Have an incredible day, and I will see you again soon.